The Irish Railroad Workers Museum has a mission to preserve the physical legacy and experience of the Baltimore Irish. We do this by preserving houses in the neighborhood where the Irish lived, worked, and worshiped, and through a series of digital and educational resources, including tours and lectures. Recently, the museum embarked on a mission to expand the physical presence of the museum, acquiring 4 adjoining properties to the original museum footprint. The Irish Railroad Workers Museum is located in West Baltimore, a half block away from the B&O Railroad Museum, where many of the Irish worked in building America's first major railroad. The museum's mission is centered around education and preservation. We have the dual purpose of celebrating and remembering the life of the Irish and also helping Baltimore and our West Baltimore neighborhood remain strong. Preservation takes many forms, but most important is the original houses where the Irish lived. These houses have an almost spiritual feeling as you get a glimpse back into the 1800s when the Irish were arriving in Baltimore. Education is through in-person lectures and events coupled with blog posts and other digital assets that share the stories of the Irish. This is a Baltimore-based story, but it's also a national story. The museum is one of the very few entities that focus on the American Irish. It all started 25 years ago when a group of people saved some alley houses on Lemon Street. As you can see in the photo, the houses were in rough shape, yet they represented a neglected history of the Irish. This group sprang into action, fighting the city, who wanted to demolish the block, raised money, and started the museum. Since then, the museum has been nurtured and supported by a volunteer board and 1 employee, our managing director. The current museum consists of 2 alley houses, 920 Lemon Street, which is our welcome center and has supporting exhibits, and 918 Lemon, which has exhibits and a glass wall on the backyard for accessible visibility. We also have a backyard that spans the houses that we use for different events. The big news is that we're expanding our footprint. We are adding 4 houses to the original 2, 910, 912, 914, 916 Lemon. You can see that in the picture. 910 is the last house, which is in yellow in this picture, but has recently been restored to resemble the other houses. Here is an aerial view of the houses. The red box represents the 4 new houses. To the left of that, where you see sort of a brick patio going in the back, is the original 2 houses of the museum. A good question is, why are we expanding now after 25 years? Well, the first reason is to protect the museum. 4 adjacent houses came onto the market. Not only was this an opportunity, but we were already using 3 of these houses for backyard events. We also wanted to improve the museum. The museum has been only minimally accessible. The internal museum is not accessible, so they can't go through welcome events. The bathroom of the museum was located down some steep steps in the basement, and our meeting space was relatively limited. We actually had a lot of in-person lectures, but we were limited to 30+ people. About 32 people could squeeze in. We actually had the interest of more, so this would allow us to do and provide more lecture space. Finally, we have lots of ideas about future exhibit opportunities. In this drawing, you can see an early concept of a welcome center based on 910 Lemon Street plus the backyard of 912 Lemon Street. While the outside facade of the museum would be unchanged, the inside would provide a lecture hall and bathrooms. The focus would be on providing wheelchair access, with the backyard used for events, which we do today, and easy access to the other houses, and a combination of permanent and temporary exhibits. We have been fortunate to have a talented architect volunteer to help us with the planning pro bono. The expansion of the museum is going to mean the opportunity to tell many more stories, and there are a lot waiting to be told. Our thought is that 912, 914, and 916 Lemon will be used for these new exhibits. We want to expand our national story, and we want to expand our Baltimore story. The Irish were essential to the growth and success of America, and a lot of that began right here. We are almost halfway through the 6-year project, which has been extended and impacted by COVID. We have spent the last few years acquiring the houses. Our last house should be acquired this March. And preservation work has already started on 910 Lemon Street, where we have restored the brick facade and are in the process of replacing windows, doors, and stairs. What we have in front of us is a lot of work. The biggest task is raising money, and while that is going on, continue to build out the next generation of the museum. We are also planning our new exhibits. Money is our big challenge. This project will take upwards of over $1 million. About 25% of that money is for acquisition, but we also have to stabilize the site, create a visitor center, build out the yard, and improve the middle houses for exhibits. These numbers are very preliminary. One challenge for the museum is that we do not have deep pockets behind us. We have lots of small donations, but most of that goes to meeting our $60,000 per year operating costs. So funding is a problem. We'll start the way we always do, with a volunteer force. One thing we do have, and have always been lucky with, are volunteers that come together for cleaning, painting, landscaping, and other tasks. We've also acquired a no-interest loan that allows us to get started with buying the houses. That was important because that opportunity had a very limited time frame. But now we have to raise a lot of money. Some will come from grants, but there is little interest in the state right now to support an Irish museum. We will continue to try and get money through various grants, but we expect to need donors, and either lots of them or big money donors. This is the primary risk of the project. While the museum is Irish focused, we believe that this is part of a tapestry that Baltimore City can weave. Baltimore was a key leader in the early 19th century, and there are many stories, immigrant and otherwise, that can be told. We envision a consortium of museums that can be weaved together to tell a broader story, and in doing so, provide a rich tourist and historical attraction that we can use to help modern-day Baltimore. Thank you for supporting the museum. This photo shows a happy tour group who happen to be standing in front of all the new houses the museum recently acquired.